Mr. David Medallo.
My daughter wanted to start her slime business. It was out of curiosity that she wanted to make slime from scratch. So we wanted to support her. We asked her to buy charms, toppers, scents, and even colors. We helped her to mix that, to be able to create different designs that she had in mind. So you can see, these are the types of outputs that she had from the slime that she wanted. She shared some of the outputs or some of the slimes to her classmates. With that, she was getting feedback from them. Because of those feedback, they actually said, these are the designs that you wanted, and she used that to further improve the slime. This fundamental process of input, process, output, and feedback is same with AI. Except that in AI, we use data as the input, which then gets fed into an algorithm or a model. That model then generates the AI results. And similarly, like how my daughter improved her slime, you can use feedback to further improve models. So today, I want to talk about network outcomes. Specifically, leveraging AI on how we can improve decision efficiency despite the amount of data that we are getting. I will be sharing two examples which we've used AI on. So the first example will be on network security, and the second example is on user access. And to cap off my talk, I will be sharing key learnings that we've had in terms of how we've used AI and how you can apply it on your data. Alert fatigue. Maybe you've heard this from network operations team or security operations. This is a very common problem to a lot of them. And this is something that we wanted to solve, and we decided to use AI on. So what we started with was, in the network violations or security violations, we actually had 4,345. This number was very big that the security operations team cannot handle. What they wanted was to bring down this number to something that is more manageable for them so they can act and remediate as they wanted. However, the challenge is they do not know how to prioritize. With that 4,000 violations, we actually had 205 critical violations already determined. This violation was determined because of the severity of the violation itself and the criticality or the importance of assets that were involved in it. However, we still had 4,140 remaining, which we'll call unlabeled, that we didn't know how to prioritize. This is where we wanted to use AI on. So, coming from the 205 violations that we already knew as critical, we looked at different attributes, or if you notice, these are actual fields in firewall configurations. So, we determined 7 features or 7 inputs that were critical in determining the criticality of violations. These were observed patterns from the 205 that I mentioned a while ago. What we realized when we looked into these features, the most impactful one in terms of network security violations, determining the criticality of it, is the destination addresses with private IPs. Additionally, the second and third is quite close. So we determined that source objects and destination addresses with public IPs actually were influential as well in terms of determining the criticality of that violation. That feature, together with the violations and together with the knowledge of the critical violations that were existing, were then fed to a machine learning model. In this case, we applied it to a tree-based algorithm, which allowed us to label everything. So, after applying AI, we were able to determine that of the 4,000 plus that were unlabeled, only 181 was something that they need to prioritize. This brought the total number to 386, which is much lower than the 4,000 that they initially had to address. So recapping this process, you can look at this AI model where the inputs are violations, the label data or the critical violations, and then the features that were derived from that critical violations. Together, they were fed into a machine learning model for us to generate prioritized violations. And for us to further improve that model in the future, we should get continuous feedback, and this will improve the model to make it more efficient and more accurate. So now, from 4,000 alerts, the security operations team had to deal with 386 violations. And looking at the data and how those 386 violations were configured, there were only 8 configurations in the firewalls that they had to update in order to fix all the critical violations. This was a number that was more manageable for the security team. So let me discuss the second use case that I wanted to share with you. This time, on the user access system, our customer wanted to determine anomalous behaviors. So, in this scenario, they came to us. There was a list of behaviors that they were tracking that they used for manual investigations. However, because they were doing the investigations manually, they cannot do it at scale. In this scenario, they were looking at 1,600 employees. So the problem that they had was, how do we even find out who's suspicious or who's actually doing anomalous things? We looked at the data, what's available there. We started with the types of behavior that they were tracking. So you can see it listed here. These are the types of behaviors that are coming from the data that we are getting. From that, we derive features again, similar to the first use case. And we then fed it to a clustering model this time. With the clustering model, the intent here is to determine an outlier or to determine anomalies based on the baseline and behaviors of the rest of the system or the data set. From there, we started with 1,600 employees. We identified that there were only 9 that were exhibiting anomalous or suspicious behavior. This allowed the security team or the operations team to investigate in a much smaller number. And escalating this and getting feedback allowed us to further improve models so that in the times that we see the same patterns or the same behavior in the future, we can still track it, we can still detect it once it happens again. So this allowed that team to focus on what they do best, which is to investigate. But instead of investigating 1,600, they only had to deal with 9. So if you notice, we applied the clustering model in the second scenario. The clustering model is an AI model that is applicable to other data sets as well. So if you look at feeding it usage reports, you can use that same anomaly detection model to bandwidth management. You can use it for detecting security events. You can use it for latency performance, And you can even use it for that process, may be applicable to different scenarios as long as you feed it the right data. So to cap off my talk, I want to share some of the key learnings that we've had over the years in terms of building a product that helps our customer generate intelligence, decisions, and actions from their data. First, I think the most important thing is really make sure that you have the right data. What we realized is, even if you have the most complicated AI model, it's only as good as what data you feed it. So I'll share an example where we had challenges in terms of data. So in one use case, we were looking at doing specific use case. Let's just say it's a specific use case. The problem that we had was the data that was provided to us in the systems were not present in the initial collection. And for us to be able to address that, we had to either look into different data sets. So within systems, you can actually see there are different streams or data sets available that it's generating. And if it's not available in that system, we were open at looking at nearby systems or connected systems that may be able to generate or provide us the quality of data that can be used for that use case. Second, another problem that we've encountered is sometimes the data is there. However, it's not generating at the frequency that we wanted it to. So, as an example, you want to monitor real-time anomalous behavior. And if you want to do that, there are two things that you really wanted to check. First, you have to make sure that the way you are collecting that data is real-time as well. So you can connect via a stream or a batch way. And if you are not connected in a stream way, then you won't be able to process that data in real time. Second, and I guess some of the most underrated problems that organizations face, the actual system is not generating the data as needed. So there were instances where our customers wanted real-time monitoring, but when you look at the behavior of that system, they generate a script within 3 hours or within a day. So even from the source itself, you're not getting the right data anymore. So for you to fix that, make sure that the producer of the data is actually real-time as well. So that allowed us, if you fix both of those, then it will enable you to apply AI to do real-time monitoring. Second, we know there's already a lot of AI models. You can use that. There are very complex ones, simple ones like the anomaly detection we discussed a while ago. We have to make sure that you're using the right AI model for the right outcomes. Make sure that those who are applying this model, applying this computation in your platforms or in your systems is known to understand what the objective is and understand what type of data they are dealing with. So that will allow you to be able to generate the outcome that you really intended to. And lastly, I want to say that we need to foster a culture of learning in your organization. So in HM, in Human Managed, we actually built a sandbox where our team can build things, destroy things, build them again. This sandbox allows us to continuously experiment and look at different ways that we can find solutions and improve the production services. So once we have tested and applied that in our test environment, we take those learnings and apply it to improve our production services. So make sure that you also allow and encourage that within your organization. So I hope you've picked up a few things from my talk. I wanna end with that. If you already have data and we've heard from a lot of talks today that you already generate a lot of data in your organizations. If you want to generate intelligence decisions and actions from it, we'll be happy to help you and share our AI journey to you as well. So let's have a chat. Thank you.